Welcome. Today we journey to the heart of 18th century rural England, to a fictional village named Hayslope. This is the world brought to life by George Eliot in her first great novel, AdamBede. It's a world of lush fields, dense woodlands, and tight-knit communities where life is governed by hard work, faith, and the turning of the seasons. But beneath this peaceful surface, it's a story of passionate love, terrible mistakes, and the difficult journey toward compassion and redemption. Our story revolves around four lives that are about to become hopelessly entangled. First, there is our hero, Adam Bede. He's a carpenter, a man of immense strength and unshakable principles. To Adam, the world is simple. A man is defined by his work and his integrity. He is respected, admired, and deeply in love. His love is for Hetty Sorrel, a young woman of breathtaking beauty, who lives at the nearby Hall Farm with her aunt and uncle, the Poysers. Hetty is charming, but also deeply vain and naive, dreaming of a life of luxury far beyond the farm. Watching them from a distance is Arthur Donnithorne, the handsome and charming young squire, heir to the entire estate. He is good-natured but careless, unaware of the power he holds over the lives of his tenants. And finally, there is Dinah Morris, a Methodist preacher who travels the countryside. She is the opposite of Hetty, serene, spiritual, and selfless, devoted to easing the suffering of others. These four people stand at a crossroads where one careless summer will change their lives and the village of Hayslope forever. Love and a dangerous secret. The story begins in the summer of 1799. Adam Bede is working tirelessly, building a future he hopes to share with Hetty Sorrel. He's captivated by her beauty, seeing her as the perfect, innocent country girl. He's blind to the fact that Hetty's heart, and more importantly her ambition, lies elsewhere. Hetty is infatuated with Captain Arthur Donnithorne. Their romance begins with stolen glances and secret meetings in the ancient woodlands of the Donnithorne estate, a place they call the Chase. For Arthur, this is a thrilling but thoughtless flirtation. He knows it's wrong for a man of his class to dally with a tenant farmer's niece, and his conscience troubles him. But he is too weak-willed to resist her beauty. For Hetty, it is the ultimate fantasy come true. She mistakes Arthur's charm for a promise of marriage. She imagines he will rescue her from her life of dairy chores and make her a fine lady. She lives in a secret world of daydreams, fueled by Arthur's casual affection and a locket he gives her as a gift. Meanwhile, Adam remains devoted, planning their marriage and ignoring the subtle signs of Hetty's distraction. His love is honest and practical, focused on duty and building a home. Arthur's affection is selfish, focused only on the pleasure of the moment. The delicate balance is shattered one evening when Adam is walking home through the Chase. He stumbles upon Arthur and Hetty in an intimate embrace, a kiss that destroys his idealized image of her. Consumed by a righteous fury, Adam confronts Arthur. This isn't just about jealousy. To Adam, Arthur has betrayed his position as a gentleman and future squire. A violent fight erupts between them. Adam, the stronger of the two, easily overpowers the young captain. In the aftermath, ashamed and guilt-ridden Arthur agrees that the affair must end. He promises to do the right thing and break off all contact with Hetty. He writes her a cold, final letter explaining that they can never be together and asks Adam to deliver it, a painful and bitter task. The letter crushes Hetty. But she weeps not for the loss of Arthur the man, but for the loss of the glittering future she had imagined. Her fantasy world has collapsed, leaving her heartbroken, alone, and facing a far more dangerous secret she has yet to confront. A desperate journey and a tragic fall. As the seasons change, the consequences of that secret summer affair begin to grow. Arthur Donnithorne leaves Hayslope to rejoin his regiment, believing the matter is closed. Adam, though heartbroken, still holds out hope that he can win Hetty's love honestly. But a terrible truth is unfolding that will lead to public shame and tragedy. Hetty is pregnant with Arthur's child. Terrified of the disgrace, Hetty conceals her condition from everyone. In her panic, she sees only one escape: marrying AdamBede. She agrees to his proposal, and Adam, overjoyed, begins preparing for their wedding. Hetty is now living a double life, smiling on the outside while consumed by fear on the inside. As the wedding day nears, her terror becomes unbearable. She cannot face the shame of her secret being revealed after marrying a man as honorable as Adam. In a final, desperate act, she lies to her family, telling them she is going to visit Dinah Morris in the distant town of Snowfield. Her real plan is to find Arthur, believing that if he sees her desperate state, he will take pity on her and save her from ruin. This begins Hetty's tragic and lonely journey. She's a naive country girl, completely unprepared for the harshness of the world outside Hayslope. She travels for days, growing more exhausted and hopeless. When she finally reaches Windsor, where Arthur's regiment was stationed, she's told they have already departed for Ireland. Her last hope is gone. Completely alone, penniless. And with her time running out, she gives birth to her baby in a miserable boarding house, far from home. In a state of postnatal confusion, fear, and utter despair, she wanders into the fields with her newborn. Overwhelmed by the cries that represent her shame, she abandons the baby under a hedge and runs. Tormented by guilt, she returns a short time later, but it's too late. The baby has been found by a farm worker, but it has died from exposure. Hetty is soon discovered and arrested. The charge is the most horrific imaginable in that society: child murder. News of Hetty's arrest and the charge against her sends a shockwave of horror through Hayslope. The respectable Poyser family is devastated, their good name destroyed by a scandal they can't comprehend. For AdamBede, the news is a blow that shatters his entire worldview. The pure, beautiful girl he loved is gone, replaced by the image of a criminal. His rigid, principled world collapses into darkness and despair. It is in this moment of absolute tragedy that the novel's moral center, Dinah Morris, steps forward. Hearing of Hetty's plight, she travels to the prison in Stoniton, where Hetty is being held. Hetty has been hardened by her suffering, refusing to speak or confess to anyone. She has built a wall of silence around herself. But Dinah's gentle, persistent compassion slowly breaks through. She doesn't judge or condemn. She simply sits with Hetty, offering quiet comfort and prayer. In a deeply moving and powerful scene, Hetty finally breaks down and confesses everything to Dinah. She pours out the whole miserable story, the secret affair, the desperate journey, the fear, the abandonment, and the overwhelming shame. It's a confession made not to a judge, but to a soul who offers empathy instead of punishment. Through Dinah, Hetty finally finds a measure of repentance. At her trial, Hetty is found guilty and sentenced to be hanged. Just as all hope seems lost, Arthur Donnithorne returns to England, having inherited his grandfather's estate. He learns of the devastating consequences of his careless actions. Racked with guilt, he rides desperately to the court. Using his new authority as squire, he manages to secure a last-minute commutation of her sentence. Hetty's life is spared, but she is to be transported out of the country, exiled for life. The tragedy has left permanent scars on everyone. Arthur must live with the knowledge that his weakness caused the death of his child and the ruin of a young woman. Adam is forced to confront a harsh reality, that the world is not as simple or as black and white as he once believed. Atonement and new beginnings. In the aftermath, the characters must find a way to heal. The pain they have endured forces them to grow. AdamBede, once a man of rigid judgment, learns the difficult lesson of compassion. His suffering teaches him to feel empathy for the fallen and the weak, including both Hetty and Arthur. His friendship with Dinah Morris deepens into love. He begins to see that her quiet strength and spiritual grace represent a beauty far more profound than Hetty's superficial charm. His love for Dinah is not the fiery passion of his youth, but something deeper, a mature love built on shared sorrow and mutual respect. He asks her to marry him. Dinah, who had planned to devote her life solely to preaching, realizes that love and family are also a sacred calling. They marry, their union symbolizing the perfect balance of practical strength and spiritual compassion. Years pass. Arthur Donnithorne eventually returns to Hayslope, a changed and somber man. He dedicates his life to atoning for his past by being a just and responsible landlord. He and Adam meet again and finally forgive each other, finding a hard-won peace. We learn that Hetty died while on her way back home from transportation, her tragic story finally at an end. So what does AdamBede teach us? George Eliot crafted a story that champions realism and empathy. She argues that our actions, no matter how secret, have far-reaching consequences. True goodness, she suggests, is not about being flawless, but about learning from our mistakes and finding compassion for the imperfections of others. It is a timeless story about the difficult, messy, and ultimately beautiful work of being human, of falling, of suffering, and of finding the grace to build a new life from the